Thanks for joining me on another episode of Twist Wrench Garage, where on this episode we're going to be updating some wiring in the engine bay of Black Pearl. And the area of wiring we're going to be focused on today is actually going to be this section right here, from about right here to the end of this little triangle piece. And this is what a lot of people in the Dodge industry, they call it a duck foot. I guess because it kind of looks like a duck foot. But this right here is what sends power all the way back and gives everything in the cab, basically power for everything. A lot of people, whenever they're working on these trucks, I've noticed they have no power going to something and they can't figure out why. Usually these are the culprit, because once they blow, you can't change them. There isn't a changeable fuse in that. This is just a fusible link right here, and if it goes bad, you actually have to replace that whole section with something else in a fuse. There are a couple ways you can handle this. You could go and get some of those inline fuses that you just wire right in, just to replace those four right there. But I'm going to do it a little bit of a different way, just to make it a little bit cleaner of an install. Let me show you what we're going to be using today. And these are the parts that we're going to be using today. I'm going to be using a 150 amp waterproof circuit breaker. That's going to be going in line with my alternator, and this way, in case that trips, I can just reset it. I don't have to go about replacing it with another 150 amp fuse, 100 amp fuse, one of the big European style. And I can show you how I got Ramona set up, because I did the same mod to her, but I did set it up a little differently. I picked this up off of Amazon. I think it was $16.99. Not really a bad price. Picked this up. This was $9.99 for this fusible, or this 6-blade positive only fuse block, because that's all we need is a positive. We're just gonna be using these four, and then I've got two open slots that if I want to use for, like, say, my radio for the constant 12 volt, I can just hook it up right to here, and I can put a fuse right in. Some of these, they come with labels, so you can actually put little stickers on them. These are generally made for like RVs and boats, and I mean that's what we're going to be using. This right here is actually one of those inline fuses that you can use instead of this if you just wanted to replace them all with this. I've seen people do that, and that can definitely be done. You don't have to get rid of the duck foot. You just get rid of that section of the wire that has the fusible link on it, and you just put that in and you're good to go. But I actually picked that up for a section right after the battery. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about there. And this is that section I'm talking about. There's another fusible link right here, and I want to say that this one goes to all the lights, headlights, running lights, those kind of things. So I'm going to actually put that fusible link in right here to replace this, or sorry, I'm going to put in that bladed fuse in this section right here to replace this fusible link. So we don't have any more fusible links underneath this hood, and we'll be able to service them if anything were to happen. And this is how Ramona is set up. I set her up with a fuse block, which is from a local company here in Oklahoma City. And then I actually picked up from that same company, a European style mega fuse holder, which is those two red pieces there. I do have a video of me doing this on this truck, so if you want to check that video out, I'll put that video up here in the corner. First things first, anytime you're working on your rig, you always unhook the negative side of the battery cable. That way you're not going to be shorting anything out while you're working. With anything like this you're doing to your truck, you always want to mock up where you're going to put it. So I went ahead and mocked up a location. I think I'm going to put them over here like I did on my red truck. I'll also put one here, the other one on this side, and I think that'll do me there. Or I even could flip them and do them like this, which I may actually do. So yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill these. I'll have to mark a new spot for this over here, and then I'll pre-drill them, and then we'll get them put up there. And I will need to make a jumper to go from here to here, because this is going to be going to my alternator, and then this one's going to be going, well, this is coming from the battery to this, then from this is going to be going to this, and then this will be going to the alternator. And then these will all go to my wires over here on the side where they go. The bigger wire that you have on it is going to be the alternator wire. It's going to be a black wire. It should be a 10 gauge. anything that in the 10, and that's what I'm going to be using as a jumper as well. I'm going to make a 10 gauge jumper wire to go in between these with some eyelets. I believe that one is going to be this one right here. Yeah, that's going to be that one right there. The rest of these are all going to be for everything else. So those I'm just going to be using 40 amp fuses for. Looks like on this one, I'm not sure if this one got a fusible link already deleted from it. No, it didn't. Yeah. Okay, but I'm going to pop up a little diagram down at the bottom or on the side or this side or whatever. But I'm going to show that diagram on what all these go to, and that'll kind of help you get an idea of what fuses to run and how big of an amp one of these circuit breakers you need to get. You know, because there are different alternators that came in these. Some of them came with 60 amp alternators, some of them came with 100 amp alternators. So you just need to verify what you have, that way you get the right circuit breaker for your application. So let me get back into this, let me get this pre-drilled. We'll get this all put together. Yeah, that'll look good right there. Good and serviceable. So I'll set this over here. Grab my tool here. Just using the screw to mark my hole. Yeah, that'll do right there. Alright, that gave me a little spot I need to drill. Let's drill that out. Alright, I'm just going to put one screw in for now. That way I can just drill out the other one where it needs to be. Let me go grab Phillips. Alright, there's one. I just need to drill another hole right there. And I'll be able to screw the other one in. Dropping everything. Alright, so let's put this one in. Alright, when our fuse block is installed, now we just need to install our circuit breaker, which I think I'm going to install it. I might install it like that. Yeah, I might actually go that route. Okay, yeah. So I think I'm going to use the same self-tappers that I used on the tail lights for this. So let me go grab some of those and I'll get it put up into its place. And after mock-up, there they are all installed. I've got that little jumper wire made in there for in between there. Next step is just to get in here and start cutting these. I'm gonna have to cut right here and get rid of this section. I'm gonna have to add a little length of wire to go to that, and then I'll need to cut on all of these sides of these here. This one's my alternator, and then these ones here all go to everything else, and those will go right there. I'll probably end up cutting them back a little further and adding some extensions on because these wires are pretty messed up. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'll start with that one right there. Here's that alternator wire cut. Again, guys, I got this stuff from Amazon. I know I got a little grief on the last video because I put LED lights on this truck and basically modernized everything. And somebody didn't really like that, which, I mean, is fine. I understand. I get it. You know, if you're trying to do like a full-on restoration and you're trying to, you know, make it all factory original, I get it. I really do. You know, I love those kind of rigs, and I'm not one to hate on any of those. It's just for something like this, something I plan on actually driving. You know, I want it to be safe. I want to have those LED lights be bright for me and let people know where I am and show me where I'm going. So I mean, do hate that some people didn't like it, but again, I'm not running a restoration business. I'm just trying to run this thing, you know, just trying to drive it as it is and fix up what I can and modernize things like this to make it just a little more, you know, up to date. So whenever I'm out driving it, I have any problems, I know where things are and how they work. But I do need to go ahead and get a loop end on this, and this is going to end up getting moved over to this side over here. So I'll get that on there and get it placed. Alright, well, this section of this job is complete. I've got all the extensions added to the wires that need to go to the fuse panel. Those are all wired. The circuit breaker is also wired. That's all done. Just need to get all this taped up. We can get that looking a little cleaner. The next thing we need to do is just need to slap in that inline fuse right here to get rid of this last fusible link, and then we're all done with the upgrade on the wiring in here. I did go ahead and order up a oil pressure sender so I can go ahead and get that replaced so we could try to get that oil pressure gauge working. But other than that, we're getting pretty close to being done for today. Well, I got that inline fuse in place, got rid of that fusible link. Show you this in here again before I tape it up. I'm just going to tape up this section just to kind of combine it all together, keep these nice and tidy, and then that's all done. Last thing we need to do, we can just go ahead and do that now, I guess, is let's hook up the battery. Let's try some things out, make sure everything still works. All right, so first things first, I guess we should, okay, so the buzzard's working, so we got power. Which we should make sure it still starts. Yeah, that started right up. Radio's not hooked up still. I can't tell if that cargo light's working or not. Actually, you know what? I've got the bulbs out of it, so that's not working. Dash lights are working. I believe the headlights are going to be working. Let's try these windows. Yeah, that's working. That's working. Still need to get on those door panels, figure out what we're going to do with those. Yeah, those lights are working. Let me get out there and then check the outside. Oh yeah, look, there's those cheap Amazon headlights that ruined the value of my truck. Just kidding. Just kidding. I like those, they look good. Everything's still working great. So if we have any fuse blowout, that little fuse blocks will actually light up for me and tell me that a fuse is blown, but everything should be good now. I think I'll take a trip up to O'Reilly's and pick up that oil pressure sensor, and I'll get that swapped in and see if we can get that oil pressure gauge working. I went ahead and pulled the breather off. I went ahead and ran up to O'Reilly's. You probably can see it down inside there, but I need to pull that little round sensor out of there so I can get that swapped out with the new one. So let me get that swapped out real quick and we'll test that gauge out, make sure we're all back up and going. Holy cow. Finally got that down in there. But I pulled out the little small one, which is for like the older style, and I put in the bigger brass style one, and I'll tell you what, guys, a 9/16 shorty wrench is gonna save your guys' life on this, because that right down there is super hard to get it snug. I was only moving it a little bit at a time, flipping the wrench over, and finally got it to go snug. So let's throw this breather back on, let's fire it up, let's check that oil pressure gauge, let's see if it's working. All right, all back together, and this is the moment of truth. I want to know if this oil pressure gauge works. Oh, my uncle reminded me to pull these caps off. When I fired it up for you guys earlier, I shot those caps like, 10 feet away. They poop, and popped off and went flying. Because I forgot to pull them off, just like I about forgot to pull them off that time. All right, into the boiling hot truck. And we're watching that gauge right there. See if I can get you guys a better view. Oh yeah, we're working. Seems kind of low though. Oh, there it goes, it's picking up. Cold, I would imagine that oil pressure would be a lot higher. It is on Ramona, but who knows how accurate this gauge is. But it is up and working. That's a lot better than what it was. Heck yeah. That is awesome. We definitely made some progress today, getting all that we definitely made a lot of progress today on that engine bay wiring harness, getting rid of all those fusible links, making it to where we can actually service that kind of stuff if we have to. Getting this oil pressure gauge to work is a big deal for me, because now I can actually feel more comfortable driving it around. But what I think is funny now is, if you notice, now my gas gauge isn't working. It was just working. Now it's not. So I guess that's something else I'm gonna have to look into. But I'll save that for another video. Do appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check you guys out on the next episode.